But first, a controversial transmission line through parts of north central and eastern West Virginia. Allegheny Energy has met much resistance in its efforts to build a 240-mile line from southwestern Pennsylvania to northern Virginia. Many residents have been fighting the line because they worry it will destroy their own property values and other scenic views. Allegheny officials say they need the line to meet the growing power needs in the Washington, D.C. area. But this week, Allegheny reached a deal in hopes of getting the project approved in West Virginia. It has the blessing of the consumer advocate for the state's Public Service Commission. He's Byron Harris, and he joins us now. Mr. Harris, welcome. Glad you're here.
Thank you for having me.
First, go over this agreement, the jobs, the investment, the agreement.
Well, the agreement sets forth that Allegheny agrees not to recover from customers the cost of the line during its construction period and for at least 2.5 years after that. In total, we have 7 years in which we will not have to pay for the power line. In addition, the Allegheny has agreed to contribute $5 million to low-income weatherization assistance in the counties traversed by the power line, as well as low-income energy assistance to help people pay their bills.
All right.
They have also agreed to locate an operations center in north central West Virginia that will add between 100 and 150 professional jobs in West Virginia.
Have they also agreed to buy any homes that are within 400 feet of this line?
Yes. One of the frequent concerns raised at the hearings had to do with electromagnetic fields caused by the lines and potential health effects. And as a part of the compromise, they agreed to offer to purchase lines within 400 feet of the center line.
Homes between 400 feet. All right. So it follows an existing corridor until it breaks off in southern Mon County and into Preston County. And a new line then is from Preston County into Tucker County to Mount Storm. Is that correct?
Well,
I wish I had a map in front of me, but we don't.
The line where in the agreement, the line in the compromise begins with a proposed route in western Monongalia County and then crosses over the Mon River and parallels or double circuits some existing power lines that run south towards Valley Falls State Park and then southeast towards Grafton, and parallels that existing line to a point in Preston County. Maybe is what you're referring to. From that point forward, it then diverges from the existing line and skirts around the tip of
And why did you go that route?
Well, that was the problem of going through Maryland.
Okay.
In order to parallel the existing line all the way from Pruneytown to Mount Storm, you would have to go through Maryland. And there was the problem has to do with whether if the line is needed in 2011, there isn't enough time to go through that process.
Is it true that as a part of this compromise, your office and the Public Service Commission agreed not to dispute whether this line is actually needed?
That's the agreement our office has agreed to. The public, just to be clear, the Public Service Commission staff, which is separate from the commission, they're part of the commission.
Thank you for that.
But it's the commissioners who will make the decision. Yes, that's part of the agreement.
But suddenly what's changed? Is this line suddenly needed when it wasn't needed? Or you were considering whether it was needed, suddenly it's needed?
Well, it's not an absolute test. The statutory test is that it balances the needs and the economic needs of the customers and as well as the environmental needs. So it's a balance. It's not an absolute one way or the other. So by achieving these economic benefits, that balances the equation.
But you weren't really sure if this was needed. You were contending that it wasn't needed.
Well, the Consumer Advocate Division, we focused on routing issues in our case. The staff were the ones who put on the need case. We focused mostly on routing issues.
So help me out here. There is the Consumer Advocates Division staff, and then there is the staff.
Of the commission, yes.
Of the commission.
It's confusing.
Two different entities.
Yes.
And it was the staff of the Public Service Commission who was questioning whether or not this line was ever needed, never the staff of your division.
That's correct.
Do you feel in this agreement, and you've been with the Consumer Advocates Division for a lot of years before you took over recently 6 months ago, do you feel that you have adequately represented the consumers in this case?
Yes, I do. I wouldn't have signed it otherwise. It's not every day that you get the chance to save customers $40+ million in rates. I know that from my many years, so that's a significant advantage, I think. And plus, we have secured a route, a different route than proposed by the company. That if the commission determines a line is needed, this route, I believe, is superior to the one proposed by the company.
Will this agreement have any implications on future power lines? For instance, the one that's proposed to go from the John Amos Power Plant in Putnam County all the way across West Virginia to Martinsburg.
Yes, I think it sets a standard for what future applicants are going to have to meet. Instead of just saying, here's the line, we need it because we say so, it sets a standard that you've really got to meet those economic and environmental tests set forth in the statute. It is a balancing. And prior to this agreement, Allegheny had met that balancing test, in my view.
The Public Service Commission still has to consider to issue a certificate of public convenience and necessity. That's what it's called. When will the PSC consider this?
Well, the order was due May 2nd in this proceeding. As part of the settlement, in order to give the Commission, since it is so close to the time of that order, in order to give the Commission time to reflect upon the provisions of the settlement, the parties have agreed that the Commission should take an additional 30 days to reflect upon this agreement and whether or not to approve it.
So it'll be sometime this summer?
It should be the first week of June.
What part did the governor's office play in this particular agreement? Or did the governor's office urge you to come up with an agreement?
No. I've of course spoken with the governor before, but we enter this as my job is to represent residential customers, and I believe he trusts me to do that.
Yeah, and did the governor urge you to go ahead and sign off on this particular agreement? Byron Harris, consumer advocate for the state's Public Service Commission. Very interesting. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
What do you think about this proposed compromise for the transmission line that Allegheny Energy wants to build? You can email your opinion to us. The address is feedback@wvpubcast.org.